Hi guys. I'm gonna wait for everybody to log on, so I'm gonna give a couple minutes here to let people, give them a chance to get on. So I'll start talking in just a couple minutes. One of my favorite topics, how to be a good wedding guest. I'm very passionate about this one because I've seen some really bad wedding guests, and sometimes things that they do are completely mortifying, and I just feel like people don't know. So I have very detailed notes here that I am actually going to hold today so that I don't forget anything. But since we had so much fun talking last week about all the horrific stories that have happened at our weddings, which if you missed it, you definitely should go to my YouTube channel. It's Table 6 Productions 2020, and you can rewatch that one. Oh, thank you, Sydney. You can go to my YouTube channel, and so any of these that I do, I upload there. So if you ever miss one, but I thought I'd just do another fun one today versus, always talking about wedding planning and budgets and venues and vendors and things like that. I'm gonna do some fun segments coming up where I'm actually gonna interview some wedding vendors. So I'm gonna start with a photographer. I think it's great to get a wedding planner's perspective on things, but I also think it's fun as a potential bride or a new bride to also get a vendor's perspective, because we all, see events from different angles, and photographers certainly, obviously, one of your top 5 most important vendors. And so I'm going to bring in one of my favorite photographers and interview her so you can get some perspective there. And then I'm going to interview a hair person, a makeup person, and then I'll throw in some more fun, crazy ones, and we'll just keep moving along here. And of course, as always, if you have questions, feel free to ask them, and I try to save time at the end. If I have time, I try to save time at the end to answer them. So comments, questions, feel free to ask them. But again, if you miss any, or if someone wasn't able to log on, or you log in halfway, you can go to my YouTube channel, Table 6 Productions 2020. I think everybody knows me. I'm Heather Allen, president of Table 6 Productions. I started wedding planning and event design in 2004, and now here I am, still doing it. So definitely a seasoned professional / matriarch of the industry. We've seen lots of people come and go, and only the good of us have survived. And you guys know who you are. So cheers to that. Okay, I'm gonna give like another minute, and then we'll get started on this. And if you've ever been at a wedding, or even I see some of my vendor friends on here, if you've seen some things happen at weddings from guests, I'd be interested to hear your stories as well, because last week I got to see some fun perspectives from other vendors, which I'm thinking about potentially doing a segment on, letting photographers and videographers and other vendors share their nightmare stories. If you missed last week's, there was a photographer that talked about how the groomsmen all put acid in water bottles, and the wedding planner accidentally got a hold of one of the water bottles and drank it, and proceeded to trip for the next 24 hours, which, oh my gosh, what a nightmare. What would you do? So yeah, it was pretty funny. Okay, we're gonna get started now. Hopefully you have your big goblet of wine or whatever your drink of choice is. So how to be a good wedding guest. So obviously from our perspective, we've done hundreds and hundreds of weddings, and we feel that being invited to a wedding is both a privilege and an honor. And, people are spending lots of money, and they are, my God, if I got married again, which I wouldn't because I just got married, and I invited all my Facebook friends, I'd have like 2,500 people at my wedding. So we all know that there's lots of people we could have, but we're narrowing down to the people that are most important to us. So it is a privilege to be invited as a guest to someone's wedding. So that is something you need to think about from the beginning. And I always tell my clients, from a budgetary perspective, when you're putting your guest list together, you really need to look at each person as like $1,000 sign. Like literally dollar signs are like walking around your wedding. So if you're inviting a very close friend of yours and letting them have their kind of random bumble date of the week, that person is costing you $1,000. So it's something to really consider when you're putting your guest list together. But we are the ones that obviously spend the most amount of time planning the wedding with our clients. And so when we see bad wedding guests, it's very upsetting to us. I've done a couple things that I'm not proud of in the past when it comes to bad wedding guests. So I try to, keep my cool when I see stuff going on. And there's actually a couple of people on here that have assisted me at weddings and have also seen some bad wedding guests behaving badly. So I'm going to teach you how to be a good wedding guest. So number one, do not bring a gift to the wedding. I do so many destination weddings, and I do a lot of weddings for destination clients. So I have a wedding coming up this weekend in Vail. It's snowing right now. It's going to be amazing. The couple flew in from Minnesota. If I see people bringing these large boxes of gifts and things, like, how do you expect these people to get this thing home? What if they're leaving on their honeymoon? I'm usually the one that has to cart all the stuff back and ship it back. If you're bringing money, thumbs up. Gift card, great. Cash, lots of cash, totally acceptable. But like a massive box of Crate and Barrel stemless wine glasses, no, do not do that. Couples register at least a year before their wedding, typically, sometimes lesser. There's showers and all kinds of parties and times that you can give them gifts. But it's easy now to mail the gift to them. There's even some great sites where they can choose when they want the gift mailed. Like if they're like, oh, we're going to be gone for 2 weeks. We don't want it sitting on our porch and then the porch pirates come steal it. So we're going to choose it to be delivered on this day. I mean, it is so sophisticated now. So do not show up to a wedding with this massive gift. Cards and money are completely acceptable. No gifts. And I mean, I've seen some things like people showing up with like a cast iron skillet with like a jar of barbecue sauce. Like, what is that? No, do not do that, okay? Do not bring a gift to the wedding. Send it, and etiquette says you actually have a year. So send the gift ahead of time, send the gift after the wedding directly to their home. You have a year to send it, and the couple actually has the same amount of time to send you a thank you note. So if you're like super offended that you haven't gotten a thank you note, they get time to do that too. So don't bring a gift to a wedding, okay? Unless it's green and made of paper. Okay, this one kills me every time, and this is probably the one where I start running my mouth the most. And all my photographer and videographer friends on here are going to totally agree with me. Do not go into the reception area until you are asked. Why do people feel like when they arrive to the ceremony or they're at cocktail hour, that's the time for them to then walk into the ballroom or the venue or whatever it is, which 99% of my clients don't want anyone to see the room before they do. So guests are walking in, they're like finding their seat, they're plopping their jacket on the chair, their purse, their drink, whatever it is. Okay, now my photographers and videographers have to go in the room and take room shots, and your crap is all over this table. Like, why do people do that? Everyone does assigned tables or at least assigned seating. Like, your table is assigned. You are going to table 6, which of course is the very best table. So why do you feel like you have to like stake your claim until you're asked to come into the room? I don't get it. It's so frustrating. I hate when people do it. So do not do that. Wait until you are asked to come into the room. There's so many reasons why we don't ask people to come into rooms. Maybe we're not ready yet. Maybe the photographers and videographers haven't gotten a chance to take all the room shots. Maybe I haven't gotten a chance to bring my bride and groom in and show them what it looks like before you plop your crap on the table. So you hold your own stuff. Think about that when you go to a wedding. If you don't want to hold your coat and your big old Birkin bag and all your other stuff, then think about that, because you're not putting it anywhere, especially if you're at one of my events, until I invite you into the room. and I will kick you out. I've done it. And when people start doing it, I literally will take their stuff and I will like hide it. So then when they go to their table and they can't find their purse and their coat, I let them sweat it for about 30 minutes. And then I bring it to them and I say, oh, I'm so sorry. I actually had to remove it because I needed my photographer and videographers to come in and take the pictures. And I wanted the, client to see all the planning we've done over the last year without, your stuff all over the table. I don't say it quite as attitude-y as that, but maybe just a notch down. So don't do that. Do not go anywhere or look at anything or touch anything until you're asked to do so. I'm very passionate about this one, as you can see. Okay. Do not call out a mistake, okay? And here is what I mean. You go get your place card or your escort card or whatever it is, and they called you by the wrong last name. They forgot to say Dr. So-and-so. They forgot to put your new married name. They spelled your name wrong, whatever it is. Oh my God, like, get over it. Don't run up to the bride or the groom or the mother of the bride and say, oh my God, you spelled my name wrong. Or, I ordered fish, not beef. I mean, that is like, that happens all the time. And it's like, here these people have spent all this money, and like, weddings aren't perfect. We do our best to make them as perfect as we possibly can, but there is some human error and we are relying on a lot of other people. So like, you guys heard me talk about last week about the nightmare calligraphy story, where I'm basically relying on my calligrapher to calligraphy based off of my list. And if she uses the wrong list and then you're going to the wrong table, I mean, of course, we get blamed for everything. You guys know that. That's fine. That comes with the territory. However, if the family makes a mistake, don't tell them. Like, get over it. Like, is your night ruined that they put an EI in before an IE? No, it's not. So shut up and move on and tell them what an amazing event it was. Okay. Because it's not about you. Remember that. It's not about you. Which so many people forget that. I mean, sometimes I think at my weddings, I think that like people forget that it is not their event. It's not about them. A lot of people have spent a lot of money and they need to be gracious that they're, have a drink, have fun, and like tell them how amazing it was. Okay. This one kills me too, and I was recently just a wedding guest. So I behave when I'm a wedding guest because I know how frustrating it is. And one of the biggest things that is so frustrating is when we are running a timeline and we ask you to sit down, to move into the room. You're at cocktail hour. Hi, it's time to move into the room and take your seats for dinner so we can announce the bride and groom. Okay, great, thanks. And they keep talking. And 20 minutes later, I still see them standing there. It's like, or people go line up to the bar for another half hour. Like, people, you're gonna get your drink. There's bars inside the room. Just calm down. So when we ask you, hi, it's time to move into the room and we'd like to take our seats for dinner, or if you're having a drink before your ceremony and everybody's congregating, hi, it's time to sit down and get ready for the ceremony, so if you could please take your seats, and people like completely ignore us, it literally throws everything off and it really pisses me off. So when I'm a wedding guest and I'm told to move, if I'm even the first one to move, I'm moving and I'm going to sit at my seat and I shut up and they do all their thing and then I'll go get my drink later. Like, just behave. Like, be a good wedding guest. You can talk to your people. You have like the next 5 hours to talk to whoever it is you're talking to. And it just really can throw the timeline off. It gets really difficult on us, and everything is like an orchestrated dance. And so the kitchen is relying on me to get the people in their seats by a certain time because they're cooking things based off of certain times. And so when you don't go sit and we have to spend an extra 15 to 20 minutes to try to keep getting you to move, and I swear sometimes I want cowbells and like little triangles and things, or like one of those megaphones to get people to move, which I know is so obnoxious, but sometimes I'm like, it's like third graders, just go sit. So when you're asked to move, you move ASAP, not 10 minutes from them. You just say, okay, no problem, go take your seat. let them do their thing, and then get back up, go get your drink, whatever you want to do. Okay? So please move when you're asked. Okay. RSVPing. So I track a lot of RSVPs for my clients, and from my perspective, it's really frustrating because I don't know these people, but it's even more frustrating when I get a card that's like, you know, I literally got an RSVP for one of my clients 2 years after her wedding. That is no lie. I text her and I sent her a picture and I'm like, oh, here's what happened to Dave Smith's RSVP card. I mean, let's be honest, the United States Postal Service isn't technically the most reliable these days. However, you need to send your freaking RSVP in on time. Like, they make it so easy for you. They even give you a stamp. Just put it in there. Like, most of us get a save the date. You know if you're going or not. Sometimes I feel like people hold off because they're like, oh, maybe, or oh, I just feel so bad saying no, or they don't RSVP at all and like pretend like, you know, it's just went away or something. Like, just send it in. You know if you're going or not. So just RSVP on time. It makes it so much harder on me and on my clients when you don't. And like a week before the wedding, you don't know, you know, the bride's trying to enjoy her family and she's about to get married and she's trying to track down people's RSVPs and if so-and-so is coming and this person's coming and, you know, it's just, that's not right. Send your card in. You know if you're coming or not usually. So just say no and send a nice gift to make up for it, or say yes and make sure you fill it out. Put your names. You know how many RSVP cards I get and there's a line for the name and they don't put the name, but they tell me what they want to eat and I'm like, okay, Mr. or Mrs. And then I have to go try to figure out who it is, and then I have to bother my bride and say, oh, I got this blank RSVP card, and then they have to try to decipher the handwriting. Just pay attention. I even get RSVP cards where people literally pick every entree. Hi, I'm coming to the wedding and I want the chicken, beef, and the vegetarian. Like, no, it doesn't work like that either. I mean, I've seen it all, sorry. So just RSVP on time. It makes all our lives easier. And my clients can't do their seating charts if they're still waiting on you 3 days before the wedding. And then when you don't RSVP on time, what ends up happening is my clients do the seating chart, we go get the place cards made or the champagne wall or the acrylic thing or whatever it is we decide to do, and then all of a sudden 3 days before the wedding this is already done and we have to start shifting people around, and I mean it's very hectic. Okay, so RSVP on time. You're either coming or you're not. Okay, this one we've all seen it. It's a little cliche, but it is what it is. Put your cell phone away at the ceremony. And the reason why is because, you know, people are spending a lot of money on their photographers, and what happens is the photographers and videographers are usually taking pictures from the aisle. So if you're in the 3rd row on the end and the photographer's at the 6th row in the aisle trying to take a photo, there you are with your cell phone camera and it's like their first kiss. Like, no, don't do that. You will get the pictures, trust me. And so, I mean, every single one of my clients says they want an unplug ceremony, which is basically put your cell phone away. A lot of people don't want you putting their pictures up on social media until they've seen it. Like, you will get the professional pictures. And you know what's so weird to me too? It's like totally off the subject, but maybe you guys have seen it. I literally will be doing my wedding and like some random people, okay, let's just say we're in Telluride, for instance, and there's this like really gorgeous ceremony site there that I do a lot of weddings at. And then there's some people like hiking by and they stop and they watch the ceremony and then they take a picture of the people. Like, you don't even know them. Why would you want a random picture of a bride and groom on your cell phone? So don't do that either. But definitely just put your cell phones away. You can take pictures the rest of the night. You will have access to the pictures. All the photographers give online pictures to the bride and groom and myself for every single wedding. You might have to wait a little while, but the pictures are going to be way better than what you took anyway. And it really just makes it so much better for the bride and groom's pictures in the end with you not there, you know, with your freaking camera all over the place. So put your phone away. I've even done like little cute little stations where I've actually taken people's phones which people hate. It's actually kind of hilarious to watch people like, oh my God. And I've done like little pockets, almost like a coat check, but it's a phone check. Sometimes people don't like that. They have small children and things like that, and I understand. But it's my best way to, you know, get the phones out of your hands so you won't take a picture. Okay. This is for the ladies. Do not wear white to the wedding. Do you know how much white I'm seeing lately? Like white. I mean, I don't even think it's okay for the gentlemen to wear white jackets. Like, I know there is not a lot of tradition left in wedding planning, but wearing white is one of them that is going to go forever. Like, that is never going to change. I see so many women show up in white, ivory, like they're just flirting with white. And I'm not talking like, you know, maybe like this obviously has ivory in it and has, you know, some other colors. I'm talking like a full-on white dress, ivory dress. Champagne even to me is like flirting with fire a little. There are so many other colors to wear. Why are people showing up to weddings in white? Like, I absolutely hate it unless it was like part of the, you know, scheme. There have been weddings where they've said they want everyone to wear white, or they've put all the bridesmaids in white, or okay, then that's a different story, but that is not the norm. Pick another color, please, to wear. And don't even like wear white and be like, oh, well, there's like this one pink flower here, so it's okay. No, it's not. Pick another color and don't pick red. Okay, I'm really against wearing red to weddings. So no red, just because I think it's tacky. And no white. And there's a whole bunch of other colors you can pick, okay? Okay. Okay, I see this one a lot too. So there's a lot of people out there that, you know, are walking around that just literally like were raised under a rock. Sometimes I'm like, what are you doing? The trashiness I see come out of wedding guests, it like blows my socks off. And literally I watch it all happen. And I'm like, really? Like that's what you thought was appropriate to do. So you see this like, you know, gorgeous wedding cake in like a $250 custom linen, and you're standing next to it with your wine, and you think that's the place that you should put your lamb chop bun, like right there on the cake table. Like, what? No, do not do that. And don't put your glassware and all your like junk all over like my nice pretty stuff. So, you know, throw your stuff away. Hold your napkin in your hand. No one wants your lamb chop bone, especially on the cake table. So try to like have some class. Treat it like as if it was your wedding. Would you spend all this money on this beautiful display or this beautiful place card table, and that's where you decided that your empty wine glass should go? No, do not do that. Find another place for your trash. Okay, this one I'm not going to go into a lot of length. Maybe it's because I'm old now and I got into this business, you know, 17 years ago, and I would have felt differently. But the attire that I see show up to my weddings, I mean, it's like, if I can see your panties, that was not the best choice. The stuff I see some of these girls show up in like blows my socks off. And again, maybe it's my age, but I don't think so. Like, we're not trying to upstage the bride. No one needs to see your panties, because you're going to start dancing and then we're going to see a lot more than your panties, which I've seen a lot of that too. Like, do like a little check, you know, like the dress needs to be at an appropriate level. Like, your boobs shouldn't walk into the room first. Everybody wants to be fashionable, and like I totally get that, but again, like, really think about, you know, your environment, what type of attention you want to get, because trust me, when you wear that kind of stuff, you are not getting the right attention. We're all talking about you in the corner. I can guarantee you that. So think about, especially ladies, I haven't seen a lot of bad men outfits except when they show up to a black tie wedding in jeans, and I'm like, wow, really? Or like shorts with like a button-down Tommy Bahama shirt and flip-flops to the Four Seasons. Yeah, no, probably not. But it's usually the girls that I see show up and stuff, and I'm like, okay, Vegas, yes. My client's wedding, no. Okay. This happens a lot. and you would not know this, so this is me just educating you. If you're like on your way to the ceremony, or maybe you're driving to the church and you're late and you're about to walk into the ceremony and you're a couple minutes late, and I'm standing there with the bride and the bridal party, pretend like you don't see her. Or if you see her in the hotel, I can't tell you how many like people run into the bride. I mean, the groom, okay, great, we don't really care. I mean, no one really cares. It's all about the bride, what she looks like, and we like to hide her and like make it be a surprise. But so many people will like come up to the bride and be like, oh my God, you look so pretty, and I'm like, go away. Like, we are getting started. You are late. You could talk to her later. And now she's mortified because you saw what she looked like before it was time. So go along. So don't do that. Like, just pretend like you don't see them. You can say hi later. There's got to be like some, respect factor when something like that happens. And I just see so many people just all of a sudden, oh, and then they want to go up to her, and it's like, no, we are taking photos, we are on a timeline, she's upset that you even see her, and so just pretend like you don't and go sit down. Okay, so pretend like you don't see the bride, even if you did. Okay, I see this happen all the time. Don't monopolize the couple's time, especially if they're trying to eat. This happens a lot with like family members. I think, it's not just millennials that feel entitled. I think sometimes, Aunt Susie is like, oh, this is, we're so close. This is my greatest niece. I can talk to her whenever I want. So I'm just going to go right up to her head table and talk to her for the next 30 minutes about something that like probably isn't even related to the wedding while she's trying to eat. Don't do that. I get really upset with that one. I will pull you away. I will come up and say, excuse me, ma'am or sir, could you please let the bride and groom eat? This is their only time that they have to eat their dinner. And most likely the bride hasn't eaten in a month anyway. So like, let the girl eat. And I will tell you that you can talk to them, later on. Like, let's remember, weddings are like a 6 to 7, 8 hour span of time. So you should remember that and know that while they're trying to eat is not the time that you should be saying hi. Because what's going to happen is they're going to be very polite and gracious to you and talk to you. And then I'm going to have to go up to them and tell them, hey, it's time to do your first dance now. It's time to cut the cake. It's time to do something else. And then like they ran out of time and they didn't eat. It breaks my heart. So try to be conscious of that. It's one thing to say, oh my gosh, you look beautiful. It's so amazing. I'll come say hi to you later, or we'll talk later. I'll talk to you at the brunch tomorrow, but just when they're trying to eat or doing something like taking pictures, like try not to monopolize their time. Everybody's excited and we know that, but just be very conscious of that type of thing. Okay. Please do not complain about anything. The amount of complaints that come out of weddings to me blows my mind. And the people they tell are the bride, the groom, the mother of the bride, all the people that have put all this time and money into planning this event. And they're like, oh, the beef was overcooked, or, it's windy, it's cold. It's like, shut up, take your seat, and you should have packed a coat. So do not complain about anything. If the food sucks, sorry, don't eat it. But don't go tell someone. Like, you can get through an event without complaining about something, even if it was bad. These people have spent all this time and money into this event, and nobody needs to hear about how uncomfortable you are, or that your steak isn't exactly how you liked it, or that your food is cold, all of those things. Like, again, not about you, it's about them. That's what we all need to remember. Be a good wedding guest. Go hit the In-N-Out burger on the way home. Like, whatever you got to do. Just do not complain about weather, inclement weather, the food not being good, the wine sucks, the vodka's cheap. Just shut it on that, okay? Okay, this one's a little hard. And I have 3 kids, so I know it's hard. But if at all possible, you really need to time your bowels appropriately. because I can't tell you how many times I'm about to do something really big and important, like a toast or a maid of honor toast or the father of the bride toast, or I'm about to announce the bride and groom, and 35 people are running to the bathroom. And I'm just like, and then they're like, oh, can you wait for us? No. The answer is no, because we have to move along. And I explained earlier why there's a lot of, pieces to the puzzle, and everything is timed out very, properly. And especially when it comes to food, we have to stay to a certain schedule, because literally a kitchen will freak out if we don't. And I have to be respectful of that. They want to put their best foot forward, and so I have to put mine. And so try to go to the bathroom not right when something's going to happen, or just hold it. I mean, it's okay, so maybe 5 minutes. You might have to hold it. I know you want to go right now, but now the father of the bride's going to speak and you want to see that. So sit down, hold it like you did when you were a kid, and listen to the thing. It's not going to be long, and then go then. I can't tell you how many times I see people go to the bathroom at the worst time. And this goes for my brides too. Literally, I'm about to send them down the aisle and they're like, oh, I have to pee. I'm like, girl, you're going to hold it. And this is usually a Catholic ceremony for an hour, and I feel horrible. But yeah, so I try to be respectful to the guests too. So let's all try to time our bowels appropriately. We're adults, we're aware, we know when we need to do things. So just keep that in mind. Okay. I see this all the time, especially in Colorado now that, marijuana and edibles and everything is so readily available. But please do not get wasted. Okay, now when I say wasted, I think everybody has a different barometer for what that means, or what kind of level they're pushing themselves to. If you watched last week, you saw some things that people have done at my weddings, like snort cocaine at cocktail hour and get arrested, or do mushrooms and not make it to the wedding, and all kinds of other things. No. And so many people are flying in now, and they're drinking at the ceremony, drinking at the cocktail hour, and then they're taking edibles, and then they're like, oh, it's not working, so then they take another one, and then before I know it, I'm literally cleaning their vomit up off of the high top at cocktail hour, and they don't even make it to the dinner. I can't tell you how many times that's happened. It's sad to see. Sometimes I actually have to drive the people back to their hotel, and I'm like, please do not barf in my car, because I will seriously freak out. I literally had this happen at a steamboat wedding, and this girl got so hammered because she was day drinking, and then they were smoking pot, and then she had a couple glasses of wine, and literally by 7 p.m. didn't even make it to dinner, and I had to drive her back in a steamboat, and I was mortified. And then on the way, she actually asked me if I'd stop and buy her some cigarettes. I was like, yeah, that's what you need. You're definitely going to go vomit your brains out now. And then the guy's like, oh, it's okay. It'll be okay. He was riding with her. And she's like, yeah, I'm just going to take a little nap. And then when the wedding's over, we'll all rally again. And I was like, yeah, So have fun, do your thing, try to keep your clothes on. I see lots of clothes coming off. It's usually the guys, the testosterone starts raging on the dance floor, and the shirts come off, and the napkins that I rented are tied around their heads, and ties, and oh, we don't really want to see that. But I mean, there's a lot of great movies that we can all watch that have all that in there, but I really don't want to see it at my client's black tie wedding. Okay, so don't get too wasted. And that goes for my brides and grooms too. Okay, but definitely have fun. We all have our threshold. We all know what we can handle. So do what you can handle. And I said this last week. If you're a bride, don't go on a 3-month cleanse where you don't have a drop of alcohol for 3 months, and then you go to your wedding and rip it up. You will be on the floor barfing, and we will be carrying you out, which I talked about last week actually happened. So, okay. If you have couple extra pounds on you before your wedding, no one's going to notice. So we don't need to go on these extreme no drinking, no eating diets and then lose ourselves on our wedding day. Okay. If you're asked to give a speech, do not ramble, prepare. I see so many people that know they're supposed to give a speech for like a year, and they're writing it that day. And this goes for my clients too. I can't tell you how many of my clients knew they were writing their own vows for like a whole year, and literally they're getting their hair and makeup done and they're like, oh, like that's like the worst time. You're just gonna be like, I love you, you're amazing, you're my best friend and my soulmate, which you guys know how I feel about that. And that's not my favorite line. I'm like, come on, no best friends and soulmates. We need to come up with something else. I just hear it so much. When the speech thing happens, I either feel like people don't prepare, even though they knew they were giving one forever. They Google, and so they end up with the, put your hand out. Okay, put your hand on top of her hand. This is the last time you're going to have the upper hand. Ha ha. We've all heard that one like 100 times. Don't do it. So no cliche things off the internet. Everybody's already heard it. Try to get creative. There's actually speech writers out there that can write you some very creative speeches. Be thoughtful. Talk about both people. Keep it, no one wants you to rehash like the last 30 years of your life. And to be quite honest with you, no one cares. They really don't, except for the bride and groom. Like the maid of honor and the bride are like, oh, that was so funny in college when we went and did that crazy thing. Everybody else is like, so what? So just think about who you're talking to, who you're talking about, and think about the people that are listening to it. They will be much more engaged if you're prepared, if you are thoughtful, if you are saying things they've never heard before. They will listen to you for an hour. But please, unless you're like some brilliant speechwriter or like, an author of 5 books, don't talk more than 5 minutes. It gets rambly. I always try to do the speeches early because most people want to get it over with. They're nervous. We all know public speaking sucks. And especially if you've had too many drinks, it really sucks, and it sucks for the people listening. I literally had a father of the groom, no joke, 47 minutes on his iPhone. 47-minute speech. Luckily, it was at the rehearsal dinner. But 47 minutes, no. It was insane. I was like, oh my God, this is a joke. Like, is Candy Camera here? And no, 47 minutes just went on, and people were just like, oh my God, like, when's this guy gonna shut up? So don't do that either, okay? So if you're asked to give a speech, those are my guidelines. Okay, we're on to my last 5. And then if we have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them or comments. Also, I'll do a little recap for those of you that kind of kicked in halfway through. And then, like I said, you can watch the full segment on my YouTube channel, which is under Table 6 Productions 2020. The wedding planner was hired by the family, not you. So the guest experience is very important to us. Like, I literally, when I talk to my brides and grooms, 15 years ago, when the bride was like, this is my wedding, I would have been like, yep, it sure is. What do you want? Like, we'll do it. Now I definitely focus on the guest experience, and I'm like, yes, this is your wedding, but not everybody loves tofu. So I don't think that's the only thing we should serve. So I really try to let them focus on the guest experience. More often than not, people are spending a lot of money to get to the wedding. People are coming from out of town, and it's important that you make it reflect you and obviously be personal to you and who you are and what your values are and representative of who you are. But you also need to think about your guests. And when we plan weddings, we try to think about guest experience from, start to finish. And that's why when it gets really logistically challenging for certain things, we really try to talk through, like, okay, you think it's fine to put your guests on a bus for 45 minutes. That's great. But we're going to put coolers of champagne in a can and beer and water on the bus. And then 20 minutes into the bus ride, it's going to pull off this exit, pick up a hitchhiker, and he's actually going to be a magician. And he's going to entertain your guests all the way to the venue. So we try to think about that stuff. But when it comes to the wedding planner, we feel like a lot of guests complain to us, want us to do things for them that are probably outside of the scope of what we would normally do. If we can do it, we will. But sometimes we feel like, we're trying to focus on the bride and groom, and then some drunk guy's like, hey, they're out of vodka at the bar, can you get me a gin and tonic? No, I can't. You can go get it. Okay. Do not switch entrees. This happens all the time. So 2 months ago, you fill out your card, you get the beef, and then all of a sudden you show up to the wedding and now you're a vegetarian. Like, really causes a lot of complications for everyone. We plan for this stuff. There, again, a lot of moving parts. The kitchen, of course, is ordering based off what I told them. So if 35 people at the wedding all of a sudden decide that night they feel like chicken, it really messes things up. So don't do that unless it's like an allergy thing, or like 2 months ago, you could eat beef, and now if you eat beef you'll die and you just found out yesterday. Fine, we'll get you the vegetarian thing. But people tend to, 2 months ago, and this is why I'm a huge fan of food stations or duos, where everybody eats the same thing and you get like two different proteins, and you don't fill out the card and pick your thing, which is very popular, and I get why people do it. A lot of high-end hotels and venues are now offering for a premium where guests can literally order that night. So they get the menu and they're like, I'll have this. And I love that. It's cool. It does take a little longer and it is a premium to the client, but it's a nice touch. Because sometimes people don't know. 2 months ago they felt like this and now they feel like that. But when people start switching entrees and stuff, super complicated. I've had people ask for 2 entrees. I've had people ask for 3. I've literally had a guy ask for 3 orders of the entree. Like, what is that? This isn't like an all-you-can-eat country buffet. So just get your entree. This is what you pick. This is what you're having. Maybe your husband or wife ordered something else and they'll be gracious enough to switch with you. Don't switch your entree like right then. And if, this is another thing I see. On the RSVP card, I do not let my clients put allergies. Do you have any allergies? Yeah, because you know what I'll end up with? Onions give me gas. Like, okay, that's great. No, I don't need to know about your gas problems. Like, we're talking about things that like could potentially kill you and you need an EpiPen, or you're like super allergic, or you're gluten-free, dairy-free, things like that. Not like, ew, I hate like cooked green peppers. Like, I do too, actually. But if they're in the thing you picked, then you're gonna push them to the side. Okay. Please stay put. So what I mean by this, seating charts take a lot of time. There's a lot of thought put into them, and I can't tell you how many times, and I talked about this last week, about how at my wedding, the Jersey aunts all ganged up against me and made me cry, and I like hid in the kitchen for the whole night because they didn't like where the bride sat them, and they just couldn't believe they drove 600 miles and all this stuff. And I'm like, look, I don't do the seating chart, okay? They apparently thought that you would work well with these people. So I am sorry, but I will be at a super high-end wedding and I'll see people not like where they're sitting and then pull their chair over to another table and like cause all this commotion. It's like, no, the dinner is an hour. Just sit with the people. Maybe they thought you liked the girl across the way who's single and ready to mingle. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't just stick you at some random table, but there also is like a lot of orchestration. And when all of a sudden we're like, oh great, we have to turn table 6 into a table of 10 because so-and-so didn't like where they were sitting. We're running around with chairs and chargers and glassware and flatware, and like, because you don't like where you're sitting, just stay where we put you and just eat your dinner and have fun and talk to the people. And after dinner's over, you can go wherever you want, but do not change your seat. That you were put there for a reason. You might not like it. Again, it's not about you. So just deal, get through the hour, and then you can go do whatever you want. Okay? Okay, this goes back to what I said earlier. Do not touch anything